Greetings, pet lovers. Brigid here with First Street Pets. And today we're going to talk about, will Yelp reviews help or hinder my pet business? Whether your business is dog boarding in your home, pet sitting, dog walking, or any other kind of service around pets, you may want to build up your client or customer base. And in order to do this, you may want to get some reviews to draw new clients or customers to your business. Now, back in the day before the internet, we ran ads in the yellow pages, in newspapers, we put up flyers and passed out business cards. There were a lot of physical paper ways of advertising. And in order to get referrals, which are the best kind of business, what we did was we got references from existing clients, and they would agree to give out their phone number to potential clients who wanted to check. So that did work in the past, but it was kind of clunky. It could be invasive to the individuals giving out their phone number. I did get some feedback over the years that sometimes these potential clients would call and just ask them too many questions, take up too much of their time. So it did get a little weird, although it did get the message across that your business is reliable and new clients should hire you. Now, in today's world of everything online, it's tricky to find places to advertise or to get those kinds of referrals or references. So you may be wondering if you should use a platform that provides reviews for you. Now, one of the most popular is Yelp. I recently watched Billion Dollar Bully, which is an Amazon Prime video about Yelp. It is biased, as you can tell by the title. It is negative towards Yelp. So I watched it. I found it to be very interesting. I would encourage you to check it out, and I will put a link in the description. Now, as I said, it is biased. Yelp may have a different opinion about what happened. My experiences were not exactly the same as those in the video, but I would like to talk about my personal experience because it was also quite negative. Now, back in 2014-15, I claimed my Yelp account. Now, how this works is that anyone can create your account for you, which is one of the weird things about Yelp that's talked about in the documentary I mentioned. So anyone can put up a listing for you and give you a review. From there, you cannot take down your account. Yelp has control over that. So all you can do is claim it. And if you agree to their terms of service, you can update information like your phone number, your email, your business hours, and etc. Now, when I first claimed my Yelp account, I encouraged clients to leave reviews on it. Now, it's against their terms of service to tell people to give you positive reviews, or obviously to pay people to give you reviews or to give them free services, or of course to just pay someone to give you a fake review is against their terms of service and also unethical. However, my reviews were all genuine. I got lots of 5-star reviews for the services offered by my company, and I was pretty happy about that because I thought this would help me gain more business through the Yelp platform. The problem is, at some point, they started calling and reaching out to me wanting to sell me advertising. So when I took the call, this was maybe 2016, something like that, I took the call and went ahead and set up some advertising. They were very pushy. It's very high pressure sales, but I did think that this was a good deal. I kind of did want people to see my Yelp reviews. So I agreed to a very inexpensive package. I want to say it was less than $100 a month. It's been a few years now, so I don't remember exactly. But it was basically an enhanced listing. So I got preferential listing, and I was able to organize my own pictures, have a little more control over the profile, which normally you don't. So I went ahead and paid for that, had that for about a year, and the first thing I noticed was that anytime you'd look me up online, the Yelp review would come up first in the listings. Now, I don't have a screen record of that because, as I said, that was several years ago. And as you'll see, that changed when I stopped paying for advertising. So that always came up first. People would click on it and it would say, 5-star Yelp reviews. And I was getting a lot of calls. But as I said, after about a year, I realized that while I was getting a lot of calls and emails from potential clients, they weren't converting. So these people were kind of just kicking the tires and wasting my time. So it wasn't worth it for me to pay for this listing that wasn't generating any business. And $100 a month, or even a couple $100 a month, if I got even one or two clients out of that, it would have paid for itself, but it never did. So I realized it wasn't worth the cost of the advertising. So at that time, I signed into Yelp and went ahead and canceled the advertising. I don't remember exactly how I did it. I may have had to call, and I went ahead and canceled the advertising. Well, a couple things happened after that. Number one, they started calling me. They called me every day, multiple times a day for years. I want to say 2-3 years. Yelp called me at least once a day. Now, fortunately, I rarely answer the phone because I get so many spam calls. I use the same number for everything. It's on all my advertising, so I get tons of spam and junk calls. I figure if someone really wants me, one, most people who book services book online, so they don't even call. And if I don't recognize the number, it's probably a spammer. So I got calls from them, as I said, multiple times a day from a lot of different numbers, which is kind of weird. Like if I get a call from GoDaddy or another business that I do business with, it always shows the same number, or at least the same prefix, because it's coming from their office. But the Yelp numbers were all different. They were different area codes, different numbers. So it was kind of weird. It could kind of look like it was different people, but it was all Yelp. I also have voicemail to text on my phone because I don't want to listen to all these voicemails about advertising and spam. So when I read the messages, it was just the same thing over and over again. Reaching out to you from Yelp, want to talk to you about some great deals. And at some point, they actually did get me on the phone and we talked about it, but it just wasn't anything that I would be interested in. And the packages that they had for advertising were quite expensive. They tried to talk me into spending hundreds of dollars a month for all these other kinds of advertising. And I just decided that it wasn't worth it. So I canceled my contract with Yelp. So as I mentioned, while I was advertising with Yelp, if you looked up my business or looked up pet sitting in this area or whatever your search was, literally the first thing to pop up would be my Yelp listing. And as I said, that generated a lot of calls, although they weren't converting. As soon as I stopped paying, that went away. So as you can see here, this is what the listing looks like now. If I look at pet sitter near me, this is what you will see coming up. Of course, there's always the sponsored ads. Rover and Wag always come up first. And other companies who pay for Google AdWords get preferential listing. Now you can see all the way down here is my Yelp listing. When you look at the listing, you can see it's kind of hard to even find the reviews. And this whole site is supposed to be about reviews, but it takes a minute to scroll around. You see sponsored ads from other companies on your page, and then you scroll down and there's pictures and there's other things. And finally, you get to the reviews. Now you can see here, I have all these 5-star reviews from real clients, and these are great reviews. But then you also get down to here where it says non-recommended reviews. So let's click on that. And here comes a bunch more reviews. Now, the weird thing is, in the past, even more of my 5-star reviews were under not recommended. And the algorithm, as it's discussed in the documentary I mentioned, is pretty weird. I'm not really sure what the logic is behind it, that they say if someone doesn't have a lot of reviews, that they aren't legit and they are not going to recommend those reviews, or for whatever reason, they think they're just your friends and family leaving reviews. I don't know, because it doesn't make any damn sense. And why do they even care? I mean, if people are going to game the system, that's on them. It's buyer beware, just like they say on eBay or Craigslist or anything else. When you're the buyer, you need to exercise caution and look and see for yourself if these reviews and the claims about any kind of business are legitimate. So as I said, after I stopped paying for the ads, my listings weren't coming up on Yelp. They weren't being promoted in any way. And this should be an organic search. When you look up something on Google, it should come up higher in the listing simply because by the laws of SEO, it is more searchable. But for some reason that changed when I stopped paying for the ads. And that is a claim that is made by many others in the documentary. So as I said, my experience was negative. I paid for ads that didn't get me any clients. They were very high pressure sales that called me and harassed me every day for years. It's lucky that I don't have to answer the phone every time. I feel for folks who have a restaurant or a doctor's office or someplace where the receptionist has to answer the phone every time. They can't just let everything go to voicemail like a small sole proprietor like me. They have to answer the phone every time. And so they get stuck on the phone with these salespeople who harass them and talk them into spending a lot of money on advertising that it seems like in a lot of cases wasn't very useful. I watched some other YouTube videos from folks who had experiences. Here is an interesting one from a roofer who had a weird experience with Yelp where they claimed that they would give him a lot of credit and free advertising, but it didn't work out that way. So check this out.
So the sales pitch of Yelp representative, we have 20-minute talk with them, was $900 credit. This is how they get you guys.
If you're comfortable starting some kind of budget, even on a small end, Yelp will go ahead and give you like up to $900 in free ad credit.
Credit towards your campaign.
So according to this business owner's claim, he kind of was led to believe that he would get free advertising up until $900, but that's not the way that it worked out.
So now I have 2 months, $500 plus per month that Yelp is charging me. So I'm calling them like, why are you charging me over $500 a month? They telling me that I have now 12-month agreement.
And then he was told that he was locked into a 12-month contract, which he didn't believe that he had signed. I mean, maybe he clicked on something while he was on the phone. So this is where it gets tricky because these big corporations can say, well, you agreed to the terms of service or you clicked on this or that, so you agreed to it. It's not like the old days where you're actually sitting down, reading a contract and signing it with your signature. So it's really easy to get into a deal that isn't so great. This esthetician spent some money on advertising that didn't seem to help her. So check this out.
First time I did ads with Yelp, I spent $300 for the month. I think I did like the bare minimum because I didn't want to spend a lot of money. One, I didn't have a lot of money to spend. And two, I wasn't even sure if it was going to work. So I spent $300 in ads and I got nothing, not one client, not one lead. I got nothing from Yelp.
So I guess the bottom line is I definitely don't recommend for paid advertisements on Yelp because they are high pressure sales. The ads are quite expensive and the practices can be misleading. I don't want to say it's a scam because I don't have any proof, but I believe from what I've seen and what I've experienced that it is misleading. You are led to believe that with spending a certain amount of money, you will get X amount of business, and that's just not the way that it works out. So the next question, as it says in the title of the video, will these reviews help or hinder your business? Well, that kind of depends. In the last couple of years, since I haven't advertised on Yelp and I haven't asked clients to give me reviews, I haven't heard a word about it. When folks contact me, they are either finding me on Google or another search engine, just using SEO by looking up pet sitter near me or pet sitter in my city or what have you. I have not heard from anyone in the last couple of years that they read my reviews on Yelp or anything about reviews, because as I said, they're either finding me online and just checking me out for themselves, or they got a referral from somebody else because I work in a relatively small area, so many people know each other. So those are direct referrals, which is the best kind of business anyway. So for me, it's kind of been neither here nor there since I stopped paying attention to it. It could be a problem for some business owners if you get bad reviews that you aren't able to remove or something like that. But this is my suggestion. As you can see here on my site, I only got one bad review in all these years. And it was from an individual that I actually never even worked for. So I'm pretty sure, according to Yelp's terms of service, you have to actually patronize the business before you can leave a review. But this was a complicated story as to why this individual decided to leave me a 1-star review, part of which was that she was also starting a pet sitting business in my area and I guess didn't want me to be too much competition. Long story. But in any case, what I decided to do, and this is what you can do as well, is simply respond to the review. And I responded politely, and I basically explained what happened so that anyone reading it could see that there were two sides to this story. And as a consumer, if I saw that someone had a bad review and they responded to it and it made sense to me, I would go with that. I would be more inclined to think that that was legitimate rather than if someone had just all 5-star reviews and there was never any complaint. That may seem less real to me than someone who had a complaint and then responded to it appropriately. So in conclusion, if you don't know if you have a Yelp account, I would definitely go on there and search. I wouldn't bother creating one if you don't, but if it's there, if someone has set it up for you, you do want to go ahead and claim it and make sure that the information on there is accurate and that you do respond appropriately to any negative reviews. I don't know what to tell you about the high pressure sales. If you have to answer the phone, you're going to get stuck talking to them. I don't recommend signing up for any of the paid services if you're like me, where you can just let it go to voicemail because most people book online anyway. If you don't recognize the number, you don't have to answer. That will save you a lot of trouble. Or maybe just don't claim it at all. Just don't deal with it. Don't identify with it and just run your business as you see fit. I hope this has been helpful for you. I intend to continue this series on pet business with other important topics. I've already done a video on creating a website for your business and starting certain kinds of businesses like pet sitting or in-home dog boarding. You can check those all out on my pet business playlist. I also intend to do a video on SEO, as I've mentioned in this video, which is one of the best and easiest ways that customers or clients can find you online. Thank you for watching.